Facing challenges and overcoming setbacks is part of doing business. Whether you have the expertise to survive them or not could mean the difference between success or failure. Welcome to We Are Women, featuring revealing conversations that provide invaluable insights into the success secrets of female masterminds. A must listen for every entrepreneurial woman. Now here's your host, Janine Vosper.
Hi, it's Janine Vosper, and welcome to this episode of the We Are Women podcast. Today, a little bit more local compared to where the last few interviews have been, and I am with Sheridan Holmes. Sheridan is a Counselling MEM Practitioner. We're going to find out more about that. And the founder of Stop, Listen, Change on the Gold Coast. She supports individuals, especially women recovering from domestic violence and emotional trauma. And she helps them release emotional blockages, rebuild their confidence, and reconnect with their true selves. Sheridan is also an author, and I love the name of this book, Sheridan. Don't Walk, Run. Escape domestic violence and let the healing begin. And it's a powerful account of her journey from survival to healing. And we'll hear a little bit more about that. And that'll give you an understanding about why Sheridan is just so passionate about what she does. So through her therapeutic work and writing, she helps others find clarity, freedom, and a renewed sense of personal strength. Welcome, Sheridan. We've known each other for quite a while now, and I'm so pleased that we've got that here on the podcast. And it's such
inviting me.
Excellent. It's such an important subject. It's the I think domestic violence has always been around. It's just that it's publicized a lot more now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's been around since the day dot, really, and it's getting worse, I think. I mean, yes, we are becoming more aware of it, but the numbers are increasing. The problem is getting worse, and and the severity of the cases, just blow your mind. I mean, we can all refer to ones that probably still stick in our mind right now, especially in Queensland. But everyone is becoming more aware of it. But there's a long way to go before we get real change or real protection for women that are in trouble.
It's why do you think it's
I think a lot of it's red tape. I mean, I know when Tara Brown died in 2015, that there was sort of things put in place to say for the next 10 years, we're going to have this, we're going to fix this basically. And 10 years later, the dial really hasn't shifted much. So, I know there's a lot of people out there making a lot of noise about this, and I'm one of them with the book, but at the end of the day, if we don't get sort of the police on board and the politicians on board to make real change, to have more facilities for these women to go to where they can be protected, because the problem is, as you might know, is when they decide to leave someone, that's often when the perpetrator will go berserk and not be able. They've lost control, haven't they? So they're often narcissists, and that's where the critical point is protecting them in that time of leaving, and and when they're trying to start a life for themselves. But that's often when the worst happens.
It seems so. A friend of mine has had a charity for quite a few years now that does exactly that. Helps people in that first instance to get out, and that's Safe Haven Communities, Janine Cunningham.
Yes.
And that is that, how can I take my kids, my dogs, and find somewhere safe immediately, and then being able to access other things after that. But it's that first instance.
And it's, when people say, oh, why don't you just leave? It's exactly that sort of scenario. It's not just like, oh, well, I'm unhappy, this is terrible, I'm going, get the kids, get that. It's just not that easy. I mean, not only are they emotionally and psychologically broken down, but they're also, it's just not that easy to pick everything up and leave. And you know, then the kids are also getting traumatized, and very few places will take animals.
Mm.
So it's a real problem. But yeah, it is being looked at, and that's wonderful. Safe Haven, yes, that's a wonderful organisation. And but we just need more of them. We just need more, and we need the women to be taken seriously. Like, just to, if Tara Brown had been taken seriously on the night that or the time that she went to the police, and said, like all these men have DV orders on them,
Mm.
and the fact that they have DV orders on them and they end up killing these women. What's a DV order? It's a piece of paper. It doesn't
Mm.
stop them from being out of harm, so that really gets me riled, because it doesn't do anything. If they had some sort of with the DV order, if they could get some sort of alert device that
Mm.
would tell them, when the perpetrator was getting close to them, within that, an alarm would sound, so they go, oh, shivers, he's getting really close to me. I'll go straight to the cop shop or
Yeah.
police station.
Yeah.
Would be protected. Whereas two women I can think of that were in their cars, and there was one on the Gold Coast just recently. They're in their cars, they get run off the road, and that's when they get murdered,
Yeah.
basically. So, if we had some sort of, yeah, I'd love to speak to somebody about that, getting some sort of alert device that could tell a woman, there's a problem, he's coming towards you, get to the police station. Oh, I would love that.
Yeah, and it's all of these sort of different things. It's the same with Safe Haven, for them to get funding, that their services are incredible. I've supported them for years now, since they first started. And the way I do it, they have one of their fundraising is just buy a coffee a week. And it's not really coffee, it's the amount of a coffee. And so it's really nothing, but it's all of these things that need to add up to support these organizations, but they need funding from the government to really put something solid in place.
Exactly.
Where there's access to houses. I mean, housing particularly in our area, and I think it's a lot around Australia as well, is at a premium.
Oh, yes.
It's really difficult to find somewhere that you can access. So it's important, absolutely important to do that. I love the idea of that warning device. It'd be
Oh,
like
I've
a
got to talk to
tracking thing.
somebody. Yeah, I was helping out a friend of mine a couple of months ago, and I was saying to her, like, she had escaped from him, but I was worried about her, and I said, oh, make sure that he doesn't know where you are, and rah, rah, rah. And I just said to her, I wish you had something on you that would tell you if he was coming towards you, because she was in the mind that, oh, he won't come over here, he won't bother me, and I've got the DVO in place, it's fine. And I'm like, but that won't do anything to
Mm.
protect you. And she didn't really understand that. And I said, I don't want to scare you, but it's women that, have these things in place that it doesn't help them at the end. So,
No.
yeah, if they had something that just alerted them to go straight to a police station, because
Mm.
both, Hannah Clark, Tara Brown, both run off the road and bang.
Mm.
Um, what an atrocity. So, and no one has the right to take, a family's life like that. Like, what it just goes to show that these men are really they snap. Obviously they snap. They've lost control of the partner and the family. And yeah, and the police, yeah, if the police can get on board so that they can, you know, respond, be able to respond. I know Queensland are doing Sunshine Coast, I believe. They've got some programs happening. I think Dave Kramer, who was Hannah's best friend, has been working with the Queensland Police to get some real, programs happening to put more protection in place in the police department. I think they've been the first to establish a DV like department sort of thing.
Right.
So,
Okay.
and we really need more of that, and proactive, like really knowing what their job is. And, because the messages that say for instance Tara was getting was a multitude of violent themed messages. Why didn't anyone listen to her? And so
Mm.
uh, and you don't know what happens at the time, you don't know,
Yeah.
but it just all of this should be avoidable. All of this stuff should be avoidable.
Yes, I agree. And I truly, and we talked about, increasing in the last few years, but I feel the control over lockdowns, people losing jobs, and even, from my beliefs, is the poison that went in people's bodies is created a different human being nearly. So that adds up to a lot of stress in relationships as well. And that puts it on. And I know men that have been victims of domestic violence. Tends not to be as physical, but it's definitely emotional and financial. That's the way that goes as well.
Yeah, look, I mean, there can be abuse in any sort of relationship, and that's what my book talks about, excuse me, as well. It's not, I know it's not just women that experience domestic abuse or domestic violence, but the problem is that they're the ones we're losing. We're losing nearly 2 a week, and that whereas, and that's why the book is for anybody, but I target, because I was in those shoes, I target the young women that are in these positions that are emotionally broken down, and they probably developed Stockholm syndrome because there's that sympathy for the perpetrator and the person that's harming them. And of course, there's that emotional connection. So it's sort of like you don't want to believe it, and they get really sorry, and then it's like, oh, it's okay. And it's again another reason they don't leave. I mean, I did eventually, but it's that, yeah, it's same with abuse from a father or something, sexual abuse from a father. There's that emotional bond that just so screws with your head. And of course, there's also usually bribery and all that kind of thing. But that emotional connection to the person that's harming you makes it very hard to just go, especially, if your self-esteem is shattered, you don't have the inner strength to go, oh, I don't deserve this crap, I'm getting out. But yeah, I finally.
Yes, and that's very different to someone who's never been through it. And you're just going, well, why are they staying in their relationship? Interesting. You mentioned about the police and having specific DV units. I know my son is in a DV relationship, financial and emotional, and he stays because he's got an autistic son and he's and a daughter that he cares for. So yes, it's that control within it, like a lot of control, because of the empathy and the sense of responsibility, because men feel this sense of responsibility when we're turning, looking at it from a different perspective. And yes, when he went to the police, the young police officer took all the information. The older police officer sergeant came out and said, oh, mate, just suck it up.
Oh,
yeah. See, so it's wrong on both counts. And when we're looking at men, the men who can't find a way to get out of the situation, obviously, often, the statistics for male suicides is significant. There's 1,300 a year or something. It's either way, it's just wrong.
That's kids that get used as pawns, don't they? So, and then there's the threat, if you leave me, I'm going to take the kids off you. And a lot of men talk about the fact that they can't see their kids, and it breaks my heart because they're actually good fathers.
Yes.
And they're not doing anything wrong. They're not perpetrating and I've got a friend of mine in this situation myself. But the toxic stuff that the other person has created going around to all of their friends, and they use the kids as a tool, and then it's more trauma for the kids. I mean, these kids, look, it's shocking.
I remember I interviewed a lady that particularly works with kids in this space, and she said one of the most powerful things that I hang on to it in case I need to let someone know is, so, if one parent is saying the other parent's useless, or the other parent's worthless, or the other, really paying out on that to the child is half of each parent.
Yeah.
So the child then hears half of me is worthless.
Yeah.
It's powerful, isn't it, Sheridan? And it's just all about trying to control people or control situations. And it seems to me that people are so out of control themselves that they have to try and do it on the outside. Is that what you found in your own personal
Yeah,
situation?
100%. Like, and it's that toxic talk. If a parent, whatever parent it is, I'll use the word bagging the
Yeah.
other parent to the child, that's just the worst thing. I mean, if mum and dad are having a fight or they're not happy with each other, the last person that needs to know is the child, because they're adult issues, and children should not have to be, worrying about that stuff, because
Mm,
it then goes inward and they turn it into, what have I done? I'm useless. I'm hopeless. I've created this problem,
mm,
where it's got nothing to do with them.
mm.
Um, growing up with my beautiful kids, I always, if my husband and I ever had a bit of a disagreement, I would just start whispering. I'd shut the door and start whispering. And it's funny when you're yelling and you're whispering at the same. And that's, because I would never, my rule was, if we ever have a disagreement, we don't do anything in front of the children, because it doesn't have to be their problem. It's our problem.
Yeah, I can't say I did that, but well done you.
But I must say, I mean, I've seen it, where the fighting happens in front of the kids. I was with some people and they went through a terrible divorce. And so every time he would come and pick the kids up, it was a problem, and the kids would end up crying. And I would go inside with the kids and comfort them. And I just ended up saying to her, do not do this in front of your children, because
Mm,
you're hurting them more than you're hurting him.
yeah.
And so she was like, yeah, really, okay, because they're all in tears. And then the big one is trying to, comfort the two young ones. And my heart is breaking. And I'm trying to be the strong one, going, hey, guys, it's got nothing to do with you. It's just, so, but that happens all the time. The lack of respect for a child to just be a child,
Yes.
and
Yeah. The
emotional.
word that popped in my head as you were talking about that, Sheridan, was punishment.
Yeah,
You're trying, one or both are trying to punish each other,
exactly.
and then the children are the one being punished.
Yeah.
It's a strong word, isn't it?
Oh, totally true though.
Yeah.
And again, then they turn inward and blame them. They're emotionally distraught. This is a form of trauma for them.
Mm,
Not only are their parents breaking up, they know that, but then to have, and I'm talking vicious fighting in front of them, like physical, and it just, and there's just a lot of it happening, this toxic parental behavior,
mm,
um, whether it's gossiping or fighting in front of them or whatever. It's just all poor behavior. Parents need to make better choices,
mm.
because protecting children is just so important to me, because I've got two beautiful kids, well, three, I should say, and like, they're just amazing. And it just, warms my heart to just know that they're in a good space, or whatever, So
Mm.
we've just got to protect kids more, and women, and these domestic situations are just doing so much harm for them.
Absolutely. My oldest son is divorced, and him and his ex have the most mature relationship.
Yeah.
It is just the kids are, you know, the, there's no. We were concerned when they said what was going to happen, and then but the kids are just fine.
Yeah.
They know they're loved, and my son in particular, I don't know what his ex does, but he never talks about her ever in front of the kids, ever.
That's
And he's obviously not happy with some of the things that had happened, but never talks about her or her family in front of the kids unless it's positive.
that's so, like you say, it's emotional maturity, isn't it? It's
Immature, yeah.
the way it should be, that their problems between each other shouldn't ripple
Mm.
down, and that, oh, look, credit to him. That's
Oh,
wonderful.
it's just
Credit to him.
amazing just how
And it's
what
possible.
he went through, and then to be this mature with it. It's
And if all parents could do that. I mean, divorce is a terrible thing, or separation. But if that's the better way to be, if this situation is better if they're divorced, doesn't mean that the kids have to feel that it's a bad thing, and that's proof that it's all in how it's dealt with that makes a big difference. Yeah.
Definitely. And you know what it is, Sheridan, is the kids are number one.
Yes.
The kids are absolutely number one. And get over it. I know when it was happening, my husband, was really not happy about it and everything. And my son said to him, "It's not your problem. It's all about the kids."
Yeah.
And that's sort of the attitude that we've just had with it right from the beginning. And that's what, again, it's very mature. And but it's what, it's with your so your story, first of all.
Yeah.
So the kids were born into a DV relationship?
Oh no, see that when I was in that, it was like, well, when I was in my 20s, a long time
Right,
ago.
okay.
I didn't get married till I was in my 30s.
Right.
But so I was with this guy for 10 years. I was very young, very immature, unfortunately, also moved interstate. But the signs were showing pretty soon. And my mum would always say, oh, I'd pray that they never get married or never have children. Thankfully, we never did. But it took me, 11 years to go, I've had enough. Maturity, I think, did a lot for that. And just finding myself and going, you know what, I don't deserve this anymore. I'm getting out. But I didn't realize. And then, everyone says, oh, time heals, so by, into my 20 years later or whatever it was, I did go through a bit of a rough period with people dying and the stuff. But I had my family, I always thought I could never hurt myself or anything because I've got these beautiful kids. I couldn't do that to them. But then I hit this moment when I went, oh, maybe they'd be better off without me. And instantly I went, oh, I'd lost my dad and lost my mum and lost my brother and, my dog. And, it was just kept compounding. And I just had trouble finding my joy. And so I was chatting to a friend. I thought, I don't know what's wrong with me. I know there's been some, bad things going on, but I've got some good things to be happy about, but I'm really struggling. And she said, look, my husband's a MEM practitioner. Why don't you have a chat with him? And I thought, what's MEM? And it's the Mace energy method. So it's named after John Mace, the gentleman that developed it, which took him about 50 years. He was one of those natural thinkers and researchers, and he was in the counselling field and wondered why, so many people had trouble being in their own skin. So he was just one of those people that search and discover sort of thing. And yes, look, by the second session, the shift was so profound that I thought, oh my gosh, I have to be a practitioner and help other people release. We think, by the time we've had these things happen to us, and I've had people say this to me, I'm fine. This stuff doesn't bug me anymore. I've dealt with it, right? But then why are you getting triggered? Why are you running around being an asshole to everyone? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? But they don't get it. Like that, people are running around with their own little issues that they may not even realize are issues, causing them problems in their life. But a lot of them are also in denial. But I realized the stuff I thought I dealt with was still just buried way deep and still creating, problems for me. And I didn't realize that until I had this session, and it came to my awareness that, okay, I didn't know that stuff was still in there. But and then it was cleared, and yeah, it's just an organic process of a few mental exercises and stuff that take you through. You don't have to relive anything. It's minimal disclosure. So the beauty of that is, you don't have to talk about the details of what happened to you when you were young, or when you were whatever. It's and it keeps the person's privacy intact, So it's quite amazing to have something now that is that powerful and that simple at the same time,
Yeah. And that's wonderful that there's a process. It doesn't have to be years of counselling to get over something. And I see this all the time. One word you brought up then, and I think it should be deleted from the human language, is fine. I'm
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
I pay attention now, watching different shows,
Yeah.
and a TV show or a movie, you've got the history, and the person's not fine, but people
No.
ask them and they say, yes, I'm fine.
Yes.
It's fine.
It's like
What's
when your husband said, yeah, that dress is fine. You know it's not.
It's not. It isn't. How can you be
It's a
fine?
terrible word. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's our mask. We don't want to blurt out, well, actually, my life's shit, but excuse me.
Yeah.
But, it's no, I'm fine with gritted teeth, I think. But yeah, it should be deleted, but it's overused. Yeah.
And that's the thing, is recognizing within yourself that there is a problem.
Yes. Yeah. Self-awareness is a big thing. And even, you know, going through, I know some of my clients and they'll sort of sit there and go, oh, wow, I didn't even realize that was still affecting me. And gee, I haven't thought about that for a while, or, something like that. And that's the thing. You might not even be aware of what's going on inside of you like I was.
Mm.
Um, but that, like, John's got a book called Causism. So
What is
he
it called?
Causism. So that's the paradigm of the set of principles and ideas that he uses based on cause and effect. So the word causation was used a lot in the 1800s,
So
but
causeism.
yes, yes.
Okay.
And that can be, there's a link to that on my website. It's a nice, easy read, but it explains how he developed it, how he discovered it. And it was a few sort of, as I say, it took him 50 years. He was 92 when he passed away in 2018. But what a wonderful man, what a wonderful legacy. And the fact that, he would have been one of the most, because he was a like very, I wouldn't say, well, yeah, I mean, he was a master mariner. So a lot of what he did was kind of scientific and mathematical, and he had a lot of interest in energy and how that affected human potential, hence how it all sort of followed on into the counselling. And then him and another friend of his were in the counselling together, so they would test and measure stuff. Go, look, I've just realised this. Let's run this and see, what we can see out of it. So the fact that it's such an organic process, there's no, you're just sitting there in a chair, and it can be done on Zoom as well.
Okay.
And yeah, if someone wants to come to my therapy room, that's fine, and we just sit across from each other. And yeah, I just take the client through a process of, yeah, just mental exercises and a few non-invasive but direct questions, yes, no answers, that kind of thing. So no, there's no talking about details, there's no reliving. And the process is quite, very not strict, but it's very formatted in a particular way so that we benefit the client as best we can. So, but
and obviously we've talked a lot about DV, and that's what the book's about, but it's not just for DV, is it?
any sort of trauma. So I can help anyone that has experienced any sort of trauma in their life, whether it was when you were 2 or 22 or 52, whatever. Doesn't matter when it happened. And yeah, look, it's different from the other conventional forms of therapy. One, because you don't have to talk about it. So that's, you don't sit there and talk for an hour, have the clock go, and oh, well, we'll see you again next week. I mean, I know people that go to therapy every week and they've got a care plan, which is, amazing, but they just sit there and talk about it for an hour every week, and it's actually not, talking about your problems is therapeutically not helpful. It's been proven. So
I agree, because what you're doing is retraining the brain to this is part of the normal. We'll connect to this part of the brain, as opposed to connecting to or breaking that connection with that, or connecting it to some sort of more positive way of responding.
It's reinforcing the issue, and I know a few psychologists and psychiatrists that have adapted the Mace energy method into their practice so that they've got another level of being able to help people. There's a gentleman called Jerry Mazinski in America who's been in the field for some 40 odd years, and he's a MEM practitioner, and he's worked with the most, like, he's worked in prisons and stuff. So he's dealt with schizophrenic people. And as he said, the best thing about it is MEM is the best thing he's found to be effective with schizophrenics. And what a wonderful thing, because the drugs that they put them on are so horrendous, and what they do to the brain. Oh my gosh, just look his name up. It's just so
What's
he's an
his name?
American. Yeah, Jerry Mazinski, Marzinski, I think. Um, and he's part of our group, and yeah, he's based in Arizona, I think. But yeah, he's worked in the prison system and psychotherapy area for a long, long time. So having him using the process and getting really good results for low to medium level schizophrenics, even so, yeah. But yeah, fascinating. And people can be helped within just one or two sessions, and then maybe once every few months have a check-in, or say, oh, I've just seen my sister for the first time in 3 years and she's really triggered something. Can we run it? So
Yeah.
it's beautiful that it's not something you need to pay for every week or every month even. I've got a program that is 3 sessions. It's a breakthrough program, and it's 450, and it's got the main foundational session, which is 2 hours, and then a week later we have a phone call, which is another half an hour, and then another half an hour a month later. And then there's other 3-month programs, 6-month programs. You can see all that on my website. But generally, that unless you sort of quite a few of my clients have just done the breakthrough program, and then just rung me up when they needed something else. So, but everyone's different, because with the 6-month program, for instance, you can get a check-in every month. And if there's anything that needs to be dealt with, if you've noticed anything rear its ugly head, well, we can run it. So, but there are few options there.
Yeah,
So,
I love that you've made that so affordable for people too. You're sort of doing yourself out of business where you're able to help people into 3 sessions.
oh, look, it warms my heart to be able to help people, and because not everybody's flash with cash these days, with the cost of living and everything. So I don't want to make it. I just want to help as many people as I can without making it, too hard for people to, because I was in those shoes once, like a long time ago, but wanting help, but not having the funds to get it. And that was another sort of form of trauma, really, because it was like you want help, but you can't get it. So there's another thing that you'll just put in that negative barrel of rubbish that's going on in your head. But if just imagine if you could, say if you've experienced child abuse or something when you were young, and that's still, even though you don't know it, it's still creating a problem in your life. The idea of actually being able to neutralize, when you think about something from your past and you get that gut feeling or however it manifests in you, and you go, yeah, well, I hear people say, yeah, I don't like to think about that because it still causes me. And I think, well, it doesn't have to. And it's not about erasing the memory. So I don't want it to sound like that. It's just about neutralizing the emotional charge it has on us. And it's as simple as that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that is, I mean, it's incredibly valuable to be able to do that. And hopefully there becomes less and less people that are aggressive and angry and want to be in control, because they are, yeah, that's the thing, is when you don't want to have to control other people's lives because you feel comfortable and loved in your own by yourself.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
the difference, isn't it?
that's the
That
big thing. You
yeah.
can't control other people, but you can control how they're affecting you. And the only thing you can control is what's going on here. So that's the beauty of MEM, is that's what we say, is that you can't control other people, but you can control how you're responding to them and stuff. So, and they don't have to bug you anymore. Like I think everyone sort of has their pet person or thing that bugs them, and that can create problems. And even though we don't think it's a problem, it can be, if a trigger is a problem,
Yeah.
like we don't have to be triggered anymore. And it's, taking all the other conventional therapies are taking I mean, I learned a long time ago that the only reason, no discredit to psychiatrists out there, you do wonderful work, blah, blah, blah. But the first one I ever went to, and the only one I ever went to just basically listened to me chat for a while and then handed me a script of antidepressants. And I thought, oh, I wasn't expecting to come out of there. And then, I went on this terrible thing with antidepressants for a while and just thought, and that's the problem with medication too, is that doesn't matter whether it's an antidepressant or what do you call it, asthma medication or whatever these days. Look at all the instructions, and often they say, can produce suicidal ideation. And I'm thinking, what?
Hang on, that's the reason I'm here, getting something
Yes,
so I don't do that.
exactly. And they're creating more problems than they are benefiting. So, and that's only treating the symptoms. It's not treating the actual root cause of the problem. So we're handing out medication, we're over-diagnosing, and I think people are every other condition that's being called a disease, and a disease is a terrible thing, but I think it lets people or says to people, oh, well, I can't fix that because it's just what the universe has given me. So I'll just have this medication and just live with it because it's my anxiety or it's my depression. But actually isn't. It isn't you. It's nothing to do with the real you. And it's something that can be treated. And we're conditioned to think, no, we have to live with that, but we don't. And I'm proof of that now.
Absolutely. And you're still here, which is really important as well. And and I'm very much anti-medications also. And I'm also okay, so something's wrong here. I'll go to my GP to find out what it is, and then I'll go to do something alternative to work with it. I want to know what they think it might be, and then figure out how I'm going to address it, so I don't have to take any medications.
Exactly, but it's almost like that's not what they do now. And like, credit to all the doctors and everything out there. And I know that medication does have a place for conditions and things, but I think we're over prescribing. I think I mean, my brother went to the doctor. This going back a while because he was having like seizures and stuff, or no, he was having fainting spells. And I said, oh, so what? They handed him some medication. I said, oh, so what's this for? Oh, I don't know. She just said, come back in 3 days if it's no better, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, but what have you got? What's the problem? I don't know. You just said, come back in 3 days, and if it's no good, I'll give you something else. And I said, but that's what's happening. People are just accepting without question, that yes, you need medication and you need it needs management, and you have to be on it for the rest of your life. So we can farmers out there, and I mean, imagine they're not going to cure anything, are they? They're just going to imagine if they cured the common cold, the chemist would be half empty and going out of business. So,
yeah, absolutely. I agree. I went along to my doctor, and my doctor knows that I do alternative stuff, that I don't follow her recommendations very often, but she's okay with it. And in 2020, she actually gave me scripts for ivermectin when I asked for it, which is pretty good. And she did some research on it, and she tried to find where I could purchase it as well. So she was ahead of the game there. It's not what she chose, and it's not what she would choose for other patients, but she knew that that's what I wanted to do, which is a brilliant doctor, because she likes that I ask questions. But yes, she said, oh, your cholesterol level's high, you need to look at cholesterol medication. And I said, well, I'm not going to do that, but what I'll do is a calcium score test just to keep you happy.
Yes.
And so my calcium score test came back very low. So she's okay. So no, because the cholesterol tests are not a good way to indicate any heart issues or blockages or anything. It's just not the way to do it. And yes, but people they again go along the doctor. Doctor says, oh, your cholesterol levels are high. Here's some medication to reduce it. Just stay on it for the rest of your life. Side effects, well, there are quite a few, but it's you don't want blocked arteries. So it's fear then. It's fear.
Yes. And like my father would never have been one. My mum was always on a bit of this and that, but my father would, I would have thought, because he was into sport and all that, and I thought, you'll never get on meds. By the time he passed, he was on a truckload of medication. And I thought, God damn, no wonder you passed away at, 86 or whatever it was. I mean, good innings, but I wanted
Yeah,
him
yeah.
longer.
But
But yeah, I mean, it's that people are conditioned that this is the condition, you have it, and the only way to manage it is to go on this medication, and then they need something else because that's clashing with this. So we'll give you something else, and oh, we've noticed this, so we'll give you this as well. Oh, but they're clashing, so we'll give you this to counteract. Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah, I know.
It's just,
Where and that's what, we've sort of got off on a little tangent, which I love because I totally agree with it. But it's that here, what you're doing is an alternative
yes,
to taking medications.
yes,
But it's so the book, and as I said right at the beginning, I love the name of it.
yes.
Why was that important that you wrote that book?
That was sitting in me for a long time. So when I had my son, which was he was a baby, and that was 2002. And so the situation was the previous decade. And he would sleep. He was a good little sleeper, and he would sleep and I would write. So, and then after I'd sort of said everything I wanted to say and got it all out, I put it away because I thought, well, what do I do with it now? I don't, so I put it away for quite a while, and then I'd add to it over the years. I'd think I'd have this brainwave of an idea, and I'd just write something, and then put it away. And then I had a business associate, probably 2 to 3 years ago now. And I said to her, look, I've got this nudge to get this book out. And she had a couple of books out, and I thought she's the person to ask.
Mm.
And I told her, I just said, this little voice said, look, it's time to do this. And because as we kept losing these women in such ferocious circumstances, I thought, oh my God, I've just got to get this out. It's making me so angry.
Mm.
And she just said, oh, what do you want to play victim? And I went, oh no, that's not exact. Oh, no, not at all. And I didn't feel like the victim, but I thought, gee, do I sound like a victim? Oh my goodness. So I put it away again. And I think it took another like 2 years to go, I'm going to pull this out. My daughter was sort of not needing me as much, which was breaking my heart. And I thought, I've got to refocus here. So I did an intensive 1 week writing course, which just kind of, I asked someone a question, who do you know? They said, this guy, he does a 1 week, And so I did the intensive, got my book almost done. And that's, and then I sort of put it away after the intensive going, oh, I can't touch it at the moment. I just want a break. And then I ended up in joining a writing group and enlisting an editor through that group. And it just all sort of within 3 or 4 months just became that. And I thought, finally, I've got this thing out. And I'd wanted to write a book since I was in my teens because it seemed every decade I wanted to write about something new I was going through. And I had eating disorders and stuff when I was young. So that was my first book I wanted to write. And then the decade of this was, and so, yeah, I've always had that thing in me where, oh, I've got to write about this, But this is the first one I've got out. I'm proud to have it out. I just want to try and speak to some young women out there if it can empower and give some insight, a little bit of guidance. I just want to encourage them to love themselves a bit more than they do in that situation and know it's in there. You don't have to find it anywhere else. It's in here. And just reach in because you're an amazing creature who deserves better. And you should get out, but you've got to do it safely and you've got to have a plan. And especially if there's kids, I mean, people that go, I just leave. Yeah, it just does my head in because they have no idea
Yeah.
hard it is to just leave. It's something that has to be planned and planned very, very, well so that you are to stay safe, Because I remember what was her, Karina Locke, which happened just after Tara did in 2015, and I'm literally like a week later. And she and her husband were having, like, they'd been together for a long time, but they were estranged, and they were talking about uh, the child and what we were going to do there. And she decided to meet him at McDonald's in Helensvale, which is a very busy place. didn't, and she was trying to like keep herself safe, right? But
Mm.
it didn't help. He walked in there with a gun and shot her in front of all these people in McDonald's and killed her. And it's like, and then he turned the gun on himself, which they often do. I mean, stand up and, be accountable, but no. So yeah, it's just reaching into these beautiful women that are in these circumstances, broken down, know that there's true healing out there, because often you get out of these situations and you're so beaten down that you just have no zest for life. You've got, even if you've got children, it's like it's like you reignite. You've got to reignite, reset your life, and you can. And
Yeah.
and MEM is the way, because you can fully recover from past trauma without reliving it and live the life you should live. That's what we're all here for, is to live a great life, or as great as we can make it for ourselves,
Love it. Yeah, absolutely love that, Sheridan. I've your message is so powerful, and the book, for the people that are just listening on the podcast, it's a beautiful red cover, Don't Walk, Run, and it's got this amazing woman in blue that's got butterflies around it and freeing the chains. You have to grab a copy of it. Sheridan, before we wrap up, I always ask for 3 takeaways from our conversation. What do you want people to remember the most from our conversation?
That if you're suffering, any male, female, anybody out there, if you're in one of these kinds of relationships, whether it's physically violent or not, so there's a lot of forms of abuse, which, I do talk about in the book, but there's financial, it's all about control. So and you've got to trust your gut feeling. I say this a lot in the book. If you feel like something's not right, or you're not 100% happy, or you're fearful, it's not right. You should be getting out, So that's not how we should be in a relationship if you're not supported. So yeah, I just want women to know that, or anybody to know that they're better than those situations allow them to be, and they have the power to get out. They must do it safely. And you and your family, your older self and your family will thank you later for doing that and making the move. But I stress it has to be done safely, and there has to be a plan in place. And then know that, well, this is probably another takeaway. Know that there is healing out there. There is proper, true healing where you don't have to talk about, details of past events or anything. It's just simple and organic, and because you deserve to restart your life without the shackles of all that rubbish pulling. It's because they create blocks. Those sort of traumas, any sort of trauma, creates an emotional block in us, which holds us back. And so it's all about, uh, taking away the charge of these emotional blocks and just, eliminating them.
Yeah, excellent. It's such a valuable thing that you do, Sheridan, and I have really enjoyed our conversation. So how can people get in touch with you?
The website is www.stoplistenchange. And so all my details are on there, link to the book, link to John's book. That will explain more about what I do. And if there's any questions or anything, there's a booking form on there, as well as you can email me with any questions. Even, if you want to have a phone call or whatever, just send me a message, open to that. And I'm also on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. So yeah, just look up Sheridan Holmes, or Stop, Listen, Change is both my links, and or give me a call. But
Excellent. No, I think it's incredibly valued. Thank you so much for
thanks.
sharing your knowledge, expertise, and keep doing what you're doing, because it's making a change in the world.
Thanks so much, Janine. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And that's another conversation on the We Are Women podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember to leave a review, subscribe to Janine Vosper YouTube channel also, if you prefer to watch rather than listen. Or you'll find, if you're watching, then you'll find this interview on the We Are Women channel on your favorite podcast channel. Go to JanineVosper.com, book a strategy call if you've got any questions about business and life. And I guarantee, as I say every single time, if I'm not the person for you, I know some of the most amazing women from around the world who can assist you. Have a good day, week, month. We look forward to you joining us next time on the We Are Women podcast. Bye-bye for now.
So, do you feel stuck in a rut in business? Visit speechperfect.com.au and download Janine's free ebook to avoid the 5 most common stumbling blocks women face in business. It's jam-packed full of tips to overcome the barriers that could be holding you back from the success that you dream your business will be. We would love you to leave a review of today's episode and share this podcast with other women in need of entrepreneurial inspiration. Subscribe to the next episode now and join the We Are Women community.